Hello and welcome to today's podcast on allusions. What is an allusion? Well, it's an indirect reference in a literary work to a previously released literary work or to a person, place, or thing in history. The key here is that idea that it's a reference to a previously released item. Take a look at this clip from Midnight Cowboy in 1969.
I'm walking here! I'm walking here!
Now check out this clip from Hercules.
Stick with me, kid. This city is a dangerous place.
Look where you're going, numbskull!
Hey, I'm walking here!
And still another from Miss Congeniality.
Roll your hips. Head up, keep gliding, keep gliding!
I'm gliding here!
What are you, blind?
What I hope you noticed about those three is that they are strikingly similar both in content and in word choice. And that is not a mistake, nor is it a mere coincidence. The point is that the original text, Midnight Cowboy, was then alluded to in a couple of other movies later on. So in other words, an allusion is a reference in a newer work to a previously released work. So the allusion is in the newer text, and the text that's being alluded to is the older text. Here's another visual example. An original text might be something like Romeo and Juliet. This is the text that would then be alluded to in a newer text like the movie Romeo and Juliet, which contains the allusion from Romeo and Juliet. So why do authors use allusions? There are three main reasons why this happens. First, an author might use an allusion to help a reader understand a difficult concept, something that might be intellectually complicated, but that intellectual complication might be lightened if they connected it with a text that the reader already understands. A second reason is to connect the writer and the reader, just simply to connect them, to share a common experience. And finally, it might be done simply for comedic effect. Watch this clip from The Karate Kid. And now, check out these scenes from Hercules. Notice the similarities. So in this case, and Disney often does this, this is a literary wink to the parents who have paid all the money to bring their kids to see the Disney show. Typically, the kids aren't going to understand these allusions, but the parents do. So it is both a connection between reader and writer, and it is comedic effect. All right, so as a reader, you might be wondering, how do I find or notice allusions in the texts that I'm reading? Well, there's a couple of ways. There are actually clues that occur in texts. If you see a name that is capitalized, but it's not a name you've seen before, if there's a story around a certain thing, and you get the sense that you don't understand that story, those can be clues that this is an allusion. In addition, you have to tap into your background knowledge. Now that piece is critical because if you don't understand the original text, if you haven't had an experience with the original text, it's very, very difficult to then understand or pick up on the allusion. Here's an example of an allusion created in order to help a reader understand a more difficult concept. In To Kill a Mockingbird, the movie, there's this really famous courtroom scene. And if you notice the camera angles, you begin to understand, you get a different feel for the courtroom. So you can see all of the white people on the floor, and then you can see all the black citizens up in the balcony. Juxtapose that picture with this scene from Pleasantville, the movie. In this scene, notice that the camera angle is exactly the same, but there's been an alteration of the idea of color. So in this case, the people of color still sitting up in the balcony, the people below are in black and white. So the allusion contained in Pleasantville pushes the reader to consider race relations historically in our country, and it forces the reader to consider how those race relations were handled in the classic film To Kill a Mockingbird. So what happens if you miss an allusion? It's a good question. Allusions are risks by the author to make a point or to connect to a reader. So if you miss an allusion, you're missing a clue that's going to help you with deeper meaning. So basically, missing an allusion means you are missing the literary wink by the author. You're missing their attempt to help you connect with them and with their content. Here's another allusion within Disney. Now, this is an allusion that if you don't catch it is not that big a deal, but if you do catch it, you understand that literary wink. So here's The Lion King, and we have Scar, one of the main characters. In Hercules, Scar shows up again later because Hercules is posing with that big lion skin on him, and when he throws it off to take a break, you notice that that lion skin is in fact Scar. So there's your literary wink. Literary winks can also happen in the form of music. So if you listen to this stanza from The Police, from the song Every Little Thing She Does Is Magic, here are your lyrics. So take a listen. Now let's juxtapose that with the Matchbox 20 song Disease.
Every little thing you do is tragic. All my life, oh, was magic. Beautiful girl, I can't breathe.
Now looking at them side by side, you can see that Matchbox 20 is sort of giving a shout out to the police, but they are twisting those lyrics on their head to try and make new meaning. So once again, if you are unfamiliar with the Police song, you can still appreciate Matchbox 20's song. But if you are familiar with the Police song, now you understand Matchbox 20 on a different level. All right, let's talk about the three most commonly alluded to texts. If you know these three texts, you will find and understand more allusions that are found in Western literature. The first one is the Bible. The second is Greek mythology, or the Odyssey specifically. And the third one is Shakespeare. Let's take a look at some examples. Here's an example of an allusion to the Bible. This was a poster from an era in our country's history where we were promoting immigration. And the way that we chose to promote that immigration is to present Uncle Sam as Noah, who's welcoming the immigrants, in this scenario, animals, to the ark to take them to safety, the safety being the United States. And here's an example from Greek mythology. If we go back to the Police, we can listen to this song Wrapped Around Your Finger, and you can see the lyric that refers back to Greek mythology.
You consider me the young apprentice, caught between the Scylla and Charybdis.
And so in Greek mythology, you have the Odyssey and you have the ship that had to navigate between the many-headed monster, which is the Scylla, and the whirlpool, which is the Charybdis. So if you understand Scylla and Charybdis, then you better understand what Sting is singing about in the Police's song Wrapped Around Your Finger. If you don't understand those two things, then you might just mumble the lyric and dance along. So it's not that big a deal, but you also are missing deeper meaning. And from Shakespeare, this is a clip from Friends that alludes to Romeo and Juliet. And let's say you've forgotten that ever-famous Shakespearean text. In the scene that's going to be alluded to, Mercutio, who's a friend of Romeo, is killed in a duel between Romeo and Juliet's family members. He's not from either family, he's just a friend, but as he's dying, he says, "A plague on both your houses," as if to say, both of you groups of people are responsible for my death. And so here you'll watch this Friends scene and you can see where the allusion comes into play.
I am hurt! A plague! Both your houses.
So in that situation, the director of Joey's new play is irritated both with Joey and with the lead actress, blaming both of them for his directorial failure. And so he puts a curse on both of them as a result of his feeling like they've betrayed him. All right, so in review, consider that what we're talking about today is the use of allusions. An allusion is a reference in a newer text to a previously released text, or a character or a person or a thing from history. It's important because if you understand allusions, you have a better shot at understanding the deeper meaning of the author, and you also have a better chance of just connecting with it or understanding the comedic value. And how do you find allusions? This one's a little bit tricky, you guys, because frankly, if you don't understand the original text, or if you are not familiar with the original text, a lot of these allusions are gonna get missed. But you can do certain things. You can look for names of people that seem important that you don't understand and just give them a quick Google search. Or look for any other titles or allusions where the conversation shifts after it's spoken about. All of these things will help you. All right, thanks so much. We'll see you in class.